At exactly 04:06 a.m. UTC, every deep space observatory on Earth lost contact with a segment of the night sky. Not because of malfunction, because something blocked it. Not a cloud, not a ship, not a storm, a second moon. Roughly 68% the size of our current. One completely spherical, perfectly smooth and completely silent. No radiation, no heat, no light of its own. Just a massive object, cold and still, now orbiting Earth alongside the moon we've always known. The initial reports were dismissed as a glitch until it was visible, not to telescopes, to the naked eye. By sunrise, it hovered low in the western horizon, perfectly still and impossibly close. It didn't rotate, it didn't drift, and within 12 hours, every gravitational model broke down. Tides surged unexpectedly, magnetometers began spinning, flight paths were diverted indefinitely, but the second moon didn't move. Not until 03:17 a.m. the next day. Then, it shifted, only by a few kilometers, but every seismograph on the planet felt it. And then came the sound, low, subsonic, global, a pulse, repeating every 7 minutes. Animals panicked, people collapsed, and satellites began to malfunction in unison. NASA issued a statement. It didn't say much, just that the object was under analysis. But one leaked transmission said something else. It's not just orbiting, it's sinking. When the first team didn't return, a second was dispatched. This time, military personnel with a portable Faraday field generator and analog backups for everything. They weren't taking chances. The chopper landed at 6:11 a.m. Pilot said the ground below looked wrong, like the forest had been erased in a perfect shape, then painted back in with something fake. The soil didn't respond to thermal probes. It didn't reflect radar. And every sound inside the circle seemed smaller, like the air was swallowing it. They set up sensors along the perimeter. All 12 units failed within seconds, but the analog audio recorder, it captured something, a tone, barely audible, looping in 3-second intervals, not natural, not mechanical, deliberate. One of the scientists, Dr. Anna Lee, stepped into the center. She placed her hand on the ground, and for a second she didn't move. She later described it like touching static that was alive, not painful, not electric, a presence. And then something changed. Where she touched the ground, the black surface began to ripple, not outward, but inward, as if it was pulling space itself into itself. They tried to extract her, but the moment she was removed from contact, the soil returned to stillness. They ran scans. There was no radiation, no heat signature, no magnetism, just a rhythm. When slowed down and mapped into waveform, it formed patterns, not random, recognizable, repeating the exact spacing of human neural waves during deep REM sleep. That's when the psychologist on the team, Dr. Orellana, said something no one wanted to hear. It's not reacting to sound or movement, it's reacting to thought. They tested it. Each member of the team was asked to focus on a single memory while inside the circle. Nothing changed at first, until one of them, a field engineer named Bruno, remembered his mother's voice singing a lullaby. The ground pulsed once, then again, then slowly began rising. Not in shape, but texture. The soil shifted beneath his feet, and when it did, everyone heard it. A whisper, clear, direct, inside their heads. We remember that. They evacuated immediately, but Bruno stayed behind. He sat cross-legged in the center of the circle, silent, smiling. The last thing he said was, "It's not a meteor. It's a mirror." And then the audio feeds cut, just static, and one more timestamp burned into the screen, 03:17. Again, always 03:17. They thought it was contained. They thought the black circle in Patagonia was the only one. But 7 days after the first appearance, reports started coming in from around the world. In Mongolia, a herder found a perfect black ring in the middle of a frozen lake. In Egypt, a tourist collapsed on the Giza Plateau and woke up repeating a phrase in a language no one could identify. In northern Canada, a dog refused to cross a certain clearing. even though it had walked there its whole life. At first, the zones were small, 4 meters across, then 8, then 20. By the time the world realized what was happening, there were already 104 of them. Same dimensions, same composition, and every single one appeared at 03:17 a.m. local time, the scientists argued. Some said it was a shared environmental reaction. Some blamed a new kind of quantum radiation. Others claimed mass psychosis, but the ones who stepped into the zones knew better. They didn't feel heat or pain or fear. They felt understood, as if the ground beneath them was responding to their presence. When one woman, a linguist named Yara, was asked what she felt inside the zone, she answered, "It feels like my thoughts aren't echoing anymore, like something finally answered back." When she was scanned afterward, her neural activity had shifted, not less. More higher frequency, more synchronized hemispheres, almost like her brain had entered a new mode, one we hadn't evolved to yet. And then, people across the world began to dream the same thing. A tunnel, a circle of black light, a voice speaking through memory, not sound. Those who had the dream once woke up cold. Those who had it twice didn't wake up at all, but they weren't dead. Their hearts beat, their lungs worked. But they were elsewhere, inside the dream, eyes open, still humming that same slow tone. And here's the part no one wanted to admit. That tone, it's infectious. It began showing up in music, in static, in background noise, and once you heard it, you started remembering. Not events, but patterns, not people, but purpose. And now I can feel it in me too. Not like something entering, like something that had always been there. Finally switching on, I was ordered to stay away. After the third black zone appeared in a city center, right in the middle of a public square in Zurich, global panic finally kicked in. Borders closed, air travel shut down, internet traffic throttled and rerouted. Governments issued a unified protocol. Avoid contact with any anomalous terrain. Do not step inside the circles. Do not engage with the tones. But I couldn't stay away. Not after what I'd seen. Not after what I'd started dreaming. The dreams had become more than just images. They were instructions, complex geometries, echoes of impossible voices, a gravitational pull, but not of mass, of a meaning, and I wasn't the only one. Thousands of people across the globe, from biologists to children to prisoners in solitary confinement, all began reporting the same images. A map of the Earth, broken into fragments, an hourglass rotating counterclockwise, and a phrase whispered in languages no one had spoken in millennia. The voice returns through those who remember. What does that mean? That we're part of something ancient? That Earth itself is a memory node, not a world, but a backup? One of the last remnants of a civilization that transcended time through thought? It sounds crazy, but the data, it backs it up. Radio telescopes began picking up signals from inside the planet, not seismic, not magnetic, structured pulses, timed with human brain activity. The more people dreamed of the circles, the stronger the pulses got. And then, it happened. One of the sites, the original in Patagonia, bloomed. There's no other word for it. The ground lifted, but didn't break. The black soil unfolded into fractal spires, silently, gracefully, forming what looked like an organic tower. Alive and humming, at the base of it, Bruno reappeared, the same man who vanished in part 2, his body intact, his expression peaceful, but his eyes were filled with stars. He spoke calmly, clearly. The tower is not here to take. It's here to return. When they asked him what was returning, he said, "Us." Then he collapsed, still breathing, but unresponsive. And the tower, it didn't disappear. It duplicated. Overnight, 12 more identical structures appeared, each one rising from a black circle. Their alignment, perfectly mapped to Earth's ancient ley lines, lines older than history, older than myth, maybe even older than Earth. And I think I understand now. The meteor wasn't a weapon, it was a key. It wasn't meant to destroy the planet. It was meant to unlock it. And the more we remember, for in dreams, in visions, in frequencies, the more it builds. We're not watching it grow. We're helping it remember what it once was and what we used to be.